So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our, is this a first in person? It's a hybrid, okay, for our hybrid meeting, so Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District Board, and call a meeting to order for Thursday, October 14th, 2021. And our first item on the agenda is adoption of the minutes.
Move adoption.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on the agenda that I have, it only lists one set of minutes, but there are actually two sets of minutes included in the agenda. There's May 13th and April 18th. So if that motion is for receiving both of them, I'm good.
Okay, so there was the April minutes were on there as well?
Yes.
Pardon
But
me. Hang on one second, Brenda.
Yeah.
Jake? Yeah, the April minutes were adopted in May, Brenda.
Okay. They were on there, so I didn't know why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So they'll be taken off for the record. Okay, so on adoption of the minutes, we have a motion. Now, do I still do, because we're in a blended meeting, still go with if there's anyone opposed? Okay. So if there's nothing further, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, we'll carry the motion as passed. And business arising? Seeing none, no under reports. Item 1, the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District and Island Health Liaison meetings update.
Motion received.
Second.
Thank you. So the report dated October 5th, and we have a few items to talk on, but I would like to get our Vice Chair, Doug Killian, to give us an update from yesterday's meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We did meet yesterday, somewhat limited attendance due to a number of people being unable to attend. We seem to have a sound problem here in the building, which has been corrected by the efficient action of our CAO, Mr. Dyson. Whoops, maybe not. All right, well, I'll carry on. So we actually did share with Island Health officials our strategic planning process, which they were interested to hear about. And they shared some information with us about the progress they're making in relation to the long-term care situation for Campbell River and the potential consolidation for leases in the Comox Valley. And it's my understanding that there are meetings at the staff level with regards to those processes. I believe that we may have some information about the pathology situation, which certainly Chair Cornfield and myself did discuss with Island Health in our meetings back in the summer. It's not necessarily reflected in the minutes, but the discussions were quite extensive. And it's our understanding that there have been some service improvements, and although attempts to facilitate meetings between Island Health and the Citizens for Quality Healthcare Group ultimately proved not to be successful, it is our understanding that there are discussions that have taken place, and I believe we haven't heard anything from Citizens for Quality Healthcare in the last couple of months. So I think our hope is that that situation has stabilized somewhat. And Max from Island Health, who I believe is on the call, may have some further comment in that regard. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. And yeah, so do we have a motion for receipt? Correct? Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, how do you put your hand up in this one?
yeah, got it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Brenda.
Yes, actually, I've been to the hospital a few times to get tests at the lab, and there was nobody up there both times I went. It doesn't seem like it's very active at the Campbell River Hospital. I know Dr. Tabarsi's been working he's our lead pathologist in Campbell River, and he's been working out of Vernon for the past couple of months. And I don't think the situation has improved in Campbell River at all with pathology. So I look forward to hearing from Max with more information about how pathology services are being returned and restored in Campbell River. Not sure what's happening in the Comox Valley, but I'd like to know more about how these pathology services are being restored, because our whole hospital relies on, prompt test results from pathology, and sending them down island to VIPCC is just not acceptable. So I'd like to hear more.
Okay. I'm not sure is Max on the line.
Yeah, I can jump in. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Max.
I'm the executive director for the GO1 area with Island Health, also residing in the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation at the St. Joe site in Comox. Yeah, thanks very much for those comments. So I can provide a little bit of an update around what Island Health has been able to do when it comes to physicians and pathology. We have a couple new physicians that are in place or coming into place. So we have a physician, Dr. Duncan, who is a hemopathologist, and Dr. Duncan started in May this year, and providing services and working out of both Campbell River and Comox Valley hospitals. There's also Dr. Benaid, who's the newest hemopathologist within the Central and North Island area. Dr. Benaid is also helping with the workload that we're experiencing within the North Island with our other hemopathologist partners. In Comox Valley, where we do the anatomic pathology, we have been able to fill one of 2 vacancies. Dr. Stahura will be joining out of the United States, out of Cleveland, Ohio in January 2020. So we're quite excited about that. And there are other applicants that have shown interest to the other vacancy. The selection committee around that is reviewing those applicants later this month. So some good progress happening there. And also Dr. Leah remains and is providing the anatomic pathology services as well. And we're also, utilizing technology when it comes to heme pathology as well. So with Dr. Benaid being able to support some of the workload within the North Island, we also have technology as described in some of the documents that were shared that allows us to be able to scan and allow dedicated experts within certain parts of the pathology field to be able to look at specimens and samples and be able to provide their expert physician assessments on those. So making some great progress, and have been able to welcome and are welcoming some new physicians within this area to the Central North Island within Island Health.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. How many positions does that mean there will be in Campbell River, pathology positions?
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna have to take that one away. I don't have the facts to be able to share right now, but I can bring that back.
Okay. Thank you. So anything further?
So are we still sending a bulk of our test samples to Victoria?
Yeah, when you say, are we sending samples to Victoria? I guess
I said the bulk of.
yeah, so I think we need to just speak to which type of samples, because as I mentioned, we are leveraging the use of new technology, which allows samples to be assessed by experts from across the island. But primarily, like the heme samples are being assessed either locally for the physical examination or through the team within, let's say, Nanaimo. So it's most appropriate for local assessment that occurs where we need more expertise and specialist examination. Those are sent where they need to go. But if there's a need for updated analytics, we shared some analytics, I would say 6 months ago, around times and tests. We could look to our lab teams to be able to update those analytics and share the latest, if you like.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've got Director Adams.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Max. I certainly appreciate the updates that were provided several months ago as to what's the status at Campbell River Hospital, Comox, and also the relationship with Nanaimo. I think an update of the analytics for the board would be extremely helpful, just to be able to ensure that all members of the board have got the clarification of what is being done at each facility and how the majority of the lab test results are being done at Campbell River for Campbell River clients or in the North Island. It's only those specialty ones that are being sent elsewhere. But I'll just reiterate what I have said in the past. I am extremely appreciative of the lab technologists at the Campbell River Hospital and the work that Dr. Leah has done under extremely trying circumstances. And I have found that the turnaround time and service of the staff have been exceptional. And we know that you're continuing to look at ways to how to get a full complement of pathologists and lab techs so that you're able to move forward. And I look forward to a future report coming back. So thank you.
And thank you, Director Adams. Any other speakers? Seeing none on the motion, receipt motion for the liaison meetings update. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, receipt carries. And we move to item 2, the procedure bylaw updates for electronic meetings and participation.
Move receipt.
Receipt. Second.
Thank you. Now to staff.
Thank you very much, Chair and Directors. Jake Martins is here to present this report and the recommendations, which includes the bylaw for consideration later on the agenda.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Russell, and through the chair. So in March of 2020, a province-wide state of emergency was declared as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And following this, Ministerial Order M192 was issued to implement restrictions on in-person attendance by the public at local government meetings. This, of course, also resulted in widespread use of virtual meeting participation by elected officials and staff. And while there were further legislative instruments implemented, basically the order has expired on September the 23rd and has been since replaced by Bill 10, which was adopted by the province. This bill authorizes the continued conduct of electronic meetings if authorized by the local government's procedure bylaw. And it's important to note that an electronic meeting, although it conjures up the notion of a purely electronic meeting with no physical location, the Act and regulations do actually specify that electronic meeting must have a physical location where the public can enter and listen and watch the meeting that's being conducted. So in that sense, there still is a requirement for a physical location. Electronic participation, of course, is where some members of the board or council then participate by electronic means. And so this meeting here certainly would fit that format. The proposed amendments to Bylaw 248 broadly provide the Comox-Strathcona Regional Hospital District with a range of options going forward from that full electronic meeting to electronic participation. And certainly the large geographic boundary of the hospital district warrants and would provide benefit to those members to participate electronically and avoid potentially long travel or or just other complications with attending a meeting from time to time. In addition to the electronic meeting provision, staff have also identified a few other minor amendments which we're proposing for inclusion. These include updating the legislative references which were outdated, including language to clarify the quorum required of the board, which is in alignment with the Interpretation Act. And finally, to set a limit on delegations to 3, which is consistent with other bodies, local government bodies. Finally, before taking questions, Mr. Chair, I just would like to raise with the board that in the recommendation, there is an error in there noted, which is that the board consider bylaw 297 being Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District Board Procedure Bylaw number 2, it should be 248, 2008, amendment number 2 for first, second, third reading and final adoptions. Just want to raise that. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So questions, okay?
I have a couple questions. I don't really understand why the
Brenda,
am I
Brenda.
sorry, excuse me.
Brenda, there is hands already up.
Right.
So you're gonna
Sorry,
have to-
excuse me. I didn't do my hand. There.
Okay, and I will go to Jim, Director Abram.
Thank you, Director Cornfield, Chair Cornfield. Jake, thanks very much for the overview of what you're presenting. Possibly my comments will be more appropriate when we get to the actual bylaw itself. But the gist of it is that under 14.2, which is, down further in the bylaw, it talks about attending the meetings. Let me just see. It sounds like, from reading it, that unless, like, if a director is present and able to attend and maybe is attending and then stops attending or whatever, they're just not there anymore. It seemed to me that we had I think it's in our email that we get from you, that there's always a phone number that you can phone if, you do have some problem, whether it be electronic or, individual idiosyncrasies or whatever. We need to be able to have that in the bylaw that says that, yes, you can phone in, even if you have been participating otherwise or haven't been participating otherwise. So I think that little niggly detail needs to be there. So do you want to wait till we get to the bylaw to talk about that?
I think, you want to wait, Jake?
I can answer now.
Jake is going to answer it now, Jim.
Okay,
Thanks.
sure.
Through the chair, yeah. So electronic participation also includes participation via telephone or teleconference. And so we wouldn't consider those separate. And I guess the notion here is, as far as the communication with the corporate officer is that while certainly in this facility here, we have the ability to teleconference and also participate via Zoom. If there's a location in which the meeting is being held in which that isn't available, then of course that wouldn't be an option. So we just want to make clear that I suppose those facilities are available so that directors can participate through those means.
Good, thank you. Question answered, Director
Okay,
Abram?
thank you, Dick. Yeah, I
Okay.
just want to make sure that, we can pick up the phone and give you a call and it'll go on a speakerphone and we'll be participating fully in the meeting.
I think staff have done a really good job of trying to give us options so that participation can be had by everyone during the conditions that we have to operate under, and also adhering to the provincial direction as well. So, Director Lee.
I had 3 concerns reading the report. The first one was, I don't quite understand why we can't have more than 24 hours notice of an agenda being available for directors. If you're going to notify us we're having a meeting within 72 hours, why can't we have a 72-hour prior you know, issuance of the agenda. That's one thing. The other two questions I have,
Brenda, let's take them one at a time.
okay,
So on, if there's notice of a meeting has to be 72 hours, can we do the agenda 72 hours ahead, or you had it listed at 24, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, sorry, I'm just scanning those provisions, given that we're not proposing to amend those provisions. Those have of course been consistent
So
throughout.
those are the ones that already exist.
Exactly. There's no change
Okay.
proposed to those.
Yeah, it was item two and item 4. I just thought that a little bit more notice of the agendas so that we could start working on them would be better than a 24-hour.
I think.
So,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can speak to that, certainly this is kind of, I guess, the procedure bylaw provides for the provision around the absolute minimum time, which must be provided, but the practice consistently for the last number of years has been to issue that agenda well in advance of the 72-hour period. And typically those agendas are going out the week prior. So I've not experienced a case where we've gone below that, but certainly this is the minimum which must be met.
okay.
Okay.
And
Second question.
next question is, I haven't studied the Interpretation Act, but I don't know why we would change the quorum required for a meeting to at least half, rather than recognizing that it's 50% plus 1. That's what we've done in all of our other regional meetings, and that would be a majority. At least half would not be a majority. And as far, and then so that's section 11(1) and section 7E, the tie vote. A tie vote should, in my opinion, be a defeat. That's how it is.
Brenda.
So those two.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so we are bound by provincial legislation, which takes precedence, and the Interpretation Act is the act in which guides what constitutes quorum. And so this brings us in alignment with that, and it is also consistent with our other local government bodies in which half of the members constitutes quorum.
So half the members in attendance or half the members of the board period?
Half the members of the board constitutes quorum, and that can be via in-person or electronic attendance, and that's part of the proposed amendment.
Okay. And the second part of your question, Director?
So it was 7E, a tie vote. A tie vote's not considered a defeat. Considering the number of votes we've had at our table,
Okay,
there's been a lot of ties, so I think that should be clarified.
well, we'll get Jake to clarify it. 7E.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just scanning the document.
Point of order, Chair, that's section 13(7)E that's being referenced, I believe.
Okay, yeah, so if I can just clarify that those provisions are respecting a point of order that may be raised by any director in regards to a decision of the chair. So it's not in regards to, I guess, a vote on a motion. It's about a point of order and a decision of the chair with respect to that.
Right.
I wrote 7E. I was talking about tie votes and whether they're defeated or not. The outcome in the procedures bylaw has changed, I think.
7E.
Yeah.
We'll just get it.
I
can clarify that tie vote is a defeated vote.
If I can add to that, to support Jake, so I think Director Lee, you're speaking about section 13, subsection 7E. It's on the screen there. And
Maybe,
7E.
maybe that's it. Okay.
Yeah, it's specific around appealing the decision of the chair and then walking through that procedure where the majority vote is required to reverse the chair's decision. And that means that a tie vote would sustain the chair's decision. And a tie vote is certainly a defeat of a motion in general terms.
Okay,
General
thank you.
sense- General
Thank-
sense would be defeated, but when it's questioning the chair's decision, it's considered in favor. Is that what you're saying?
No, if you walk through that subsection 7, when there's an appeal on the decision of a chair, if you
Right.
walk through that whole process, then a motion is required to reverse the chair's decision, and a majority vote is required to carry that motion. If the motion is to reverse the chair's decision and the result of that vote is a tie,
Oh.
then the chair's decision is sustained because that would be a defeated motion
So a tie vote sustains.
Oh, I see. Okay, I
in
got
that
it.
situation.
I got it.
Okay. Clear. Thank you, Director Lee. Is there any further questions? Seeing none on receipt, is there anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On the recommendation with the amendment. Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, is there anyone opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. On to the management report, item 3.
Move receipt.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? I don't see any hands or anything, so on the management report, call the question. Is there anyone opposed? See, motion carries. Under bylaws and resolutions, number 1, the recommendation for bylaw number 297 being the Comox Strathcona Regional Hospital District Board Procedures bylaw number 248, 2008, amendment number 2.
Move first and second.
Thank you. We have a seconder.
Second.
Discussion? Oh, I have Director Davis and then Director Abram.
Isn't really a discussion. I just want a clarification. I see a second item at the bottom there and it's.
Can you speak just a little closer to your mic, Martin? It's hard to hear you.
It's just a clarification. I see a second item in this recommendation and it doesn't point anywhere. I just want to be clear that there's no item there and it's just a marker.
Oh. Yeah, the bylaws under the first one, right? First item.
Yeah, the second one is a 404 error, so I just want to confirm that there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Director Abram.
Yeah, thank you. And this is the area that I was talking about, 13.4. If you look at the second line, it says nothing in this bylaw shall be construed to guarantee any director or member electronic access to a meeting. That's the part that I'm questioning. Now, if we're not guaranteed electronic access of some sort, and I would call a phone call electronic also, I would think, somehow that wording needs to be adjusted in my mind anyway, because otherwise it's going to look like, okay, Joe Blow is sitting in front of their computer thinking they're in a meeting and they can't get in the meeting. And unless they have access, which would qualify in my mind as guaranteed access by the CVRD or CSRHD in this case, then there's some unfairness there as far as I'm concerned. It says it will be restricted by equipment, facility capability, et cetera. I understand all that, but that little fail-safe of we need to have a phone number that is 99% of the time flawless on landline, to be able to call in and talk on a speakerphone. So is there some way to just sort of tweak those words so that it does not, like I think construed to guarantee any director is harsh. And I think it needs to be somehow tweaked.
I will ask Jake to
Is there
respond.
some comment from,
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, so certainly the first line of this provision provides that we will make every effort to accommodate electronic participation. And but as you note, it does say that it won't be construed to guarantee any director or member electronic access. Certainly there may be disruptions to electronic participation, whether that's internet service or phone service, and that is certainly beyond our control. So that speaks to the nature that we can't guarantee that access will be maintained throughout the meeting, or that we will be at meeting in a location in which such access can be provided. As the board will recall, we certainly were alternating meeting locations between the Comox Valley Regional District Boardroom and the Maritime Heritage Center. Certainly that's something we're still considering at this time, but there may not be necessarily the equipment provisions there to allow electronic participations or at another facility. So this is again, basically just pointing to the fact that we need to make sure that equipment is available and provided, and we certainly intend to communicate with the board to ensure your awareness about what's available in advance or not.
And if I can just add, the electronic participation includes by phone, correct? So the by phone is in the definition. Hey, Director Abram?
yes, but well, yes, I'm okay, except for the, once again, guarantee any director that I feel is harsh, because if, okay, so is that director considered not at the meeting if they can't get through? Even though they're sitting there trying to get through?
I would say that you're not participating unless you do get through. And if there's a big windstorm and the trees take all the power out for Quadra Island, there is not a guarantee that we could make to guarantee that your power was restored and you participated, or that the meeting would be canceled because you could not participate. So I think this is very
Well, you get right on that, Charlie.
Yeah, this is very appropriate the way it's written right now, in my opinion, that we can't guarantee electronic access, not 100%. And I think staff are doing their very best to make sure that we have that ability to participate. And we'll see how everything works out. But I think you can't plan for everything that comes up. Okay.
I understand that, and I totally respect the work that staff have done. They've done an excellent job on putting this together. This was just a little point that
Yeah.
a little
Well, I
red flag
appreciate it,
popped
Jim.
up, and I wanted to make sure I brought it up.
Okay, good, thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, this is all directors, one person, one vote for the first and second readings.
And this requires a 2/3 majority, right?
I thought we were just doing the first one first. Yeah.
Oh, adoption requires 2/3.
Right,
Okay, thank you.
We're just on
First and second.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there's no further discussion, call the question. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, first and second carries.
Move third.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, anyone opposed? Third reading carries.
Move final adoption.
Second.
Okay, and this is 2/3 majority. So any discussion? Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, The bylaw passes. Bylaw is adopted. Okay, we have no new business.
Move termination.
Well, thank you, Willow. Good to see you again. On termination, anyone opposed? Imagine that, no one's opposed.
Thank you, Short.
It's unanimous.